Hello, good evening and welcome. Did I sound a little bit like Mrs. Doubtfire then? Hello. I think I did.
By fluting.
Oh, we're already on the comments. Noah was here. Do we just point out that Noah made his first comment at...
No, you get in trouble.
4 in the morning?
His mum will kill him.
Oh, well, you can see it. But yeah, hi, good evening, Noah. I'll try
Noah.
and keep my swearing to a minimum.
Yeah, please do.
Marion's here as well. Hello, Marion.
Hi,
Good evening.
Marion.
How are you guys doing with the heat? Marion and her dogs, I'm hoping they just hide inside like I did. Well, we didn't today, to be fair.
No, we didn't, because we're idiots, and then I came home and cooked a roast dinner.
Yeah, it was delicious.
Aching hot.
Right, guys, on tonight's show, did you bring the printouts up?
No, did you ask me to?
Yes.
I'll be
I
going.
said I forgot the highlighted sheets, and you went.
Then.
Okay, I'll let everybody know what's coming up.
Okay.
Sorry, guys, a little bit less organised than I thought we were then. Right, anyway, in tonight's show, we're going to be talking about a lost Victorian, medieval, well, before medieval times, to be fair, a lost village in Northamptonshire that we went to look at today, which turned out wasn't all that great. But then we found a church in a little village, which was absolutely awesome. This church dated back to the 11th and 12th century. So, and luckily they were having tea and cake open day, so that was quite good. And I ended up going up the tower, or we ended up going up the tower, and I went on top of roof.
On roof.
If you haven't seen the pictures, they're on our Facebook page. So that was good. And then later in the show, we're going to be talking about healing and kind of the different types of healing. And we're going to give our sort of personal view on different things. So we'll cover things like Reiki, meditation, acupuncture, chiropractor, massage, aromatherapy, counselling, life coaching, the different sort of things that people can use. And I'd like the themed question to be, does placebo prove the power of the mind or the power of suggestion?
Okay.
So that's my question. So anyway, welcome back, Penny. Thank you for bringing the printouts up.
Adding to my steps for the day.
Yeah, we have done quite a lot of steps today.
Yeah. I do apologise. I seem to have dinner down my top.
So let's have a quick look before we dive into our content, as you say, on YouTube and social media. Thank you for the love, Leah and Marion. So if you are on Facebook, hit the little love heart. But I can't do it reversed against the camera. I think that worked. So hit the love, like, share, follow.
That's what happens when old people are allowed on the internet.
Good evening, Chloe. Oh, by the way, Denise dropped us a little message and said she's got migraine, so Denise will be watching tomorrow morning. So morning, Denise.
Oh, yeah, okay.
I just thought it'd be a little random moment.
Yeah. Okay.
So, Penny, how's your week been?
Hectic.
Excellent. And that's enough of that.
It's the week before, so rude. It's the week before the last week of school. So it's been hectic. Lots of organising.
Yeah.
Lots more organising to come.
I just have the impending date of my unemployment. That's the kids break up on holiday. So, anyway, enough about that boring stuff.
Yeah.
Where have we been today then, Penny?
We went on an adventure again. Not quite as fruitless as the last one.
No.
So we went to Lilbourne Siege Castle. Medieval castle that is no longer there.
Yes, we found the siege castle. It's now
a hill.
Yeah, it's a hill covered in brambles. You can't even get on it or in it or near it.
No, it's got kind of a moat bit around it, but unfortunately it's so packed full of brambles that we didn't obviously get in there because
no. I
did like the energy around it, though. The walk uphill through very uneven farmer's field with the impending potential of sheep attack.
Sheep attack?
Yeah.
We just entered into a B movie somehow.
Yeah, they're quite scary.
When she
I was prepared. Bar around you. I was prepared.
Yeah, so the siege castle turned out to be a
tad disappointing.
Big pile of brambles.
But it's part of my quest to seek out the abandoned, lost, forgotten medieval villages.
See which ones we can get near.
In Northamptonshire. It's quite hard to get to because a lot of them are surrounded now by private land, and some of that is why they became abandoned in the first place, because of enclosure. So the big scary manor housey people went, we'll have that, thanks.
Yeah, greedy rich.
And took it all in, and then private landed it. But we've been all right. There was a footpath today. Took us a bit of a walk.
Yeah, but we got there, and we've seen the big pile of brambles.
But
I tell you what, though, before we move on to what we found after that,
okay,
just sitting, because there was randomly a bench up there as well, so there is kind of
I know, I've got a feel for the poor
location.
person that carried that bench up there, because that was hard enough carrying myself up there.
And sitting up there, there is a sense of energy up there, though.
There is a sense of energy. There's not a sense of siege.
No, it just felt like footfall.
Battle. Yeah.
It just felt like a lot of footfall around there.
It did.
So even though it was just a pile of brambles, the residual energy sort of thing, walking around it and just relaxing for a minute, sitting on the bench, still allows you to tap into the energy of the area and sort of look over the horizon and imagine what it'd be like without all that industrial crap and the big view of the A14 or the M6 or whichever it was you could see from there.
Yeah.
So imagine how empty it would have looked standing there when there was a castle there. So like I said before, a lot of kind of my psychometry stuff is a little bit of imagination going with the feelings that I get from the area I'm standing in. So it's kind of build a picture and all that sort of gubbins. So yeah, so then what happened then?
So then there was the impending doom of walking back down. I'm making that sound more dramatic than it is, but it was really hot. It was quite hard going. And then as we were coming down, we spotted a few things, like from the position we were in, we could see how the field kind of, I want to say undulate, to where the road up to the castle would have been through the land. It was quite bizarre. And because there was, what was it called? Strip farming.
Yeah.
You could see that it was segregated, even though it was one big field, you could see that at some point there had been segregation so that everybody got a strip of land there. And then in the distance, catalogue goes, we spotted
top of a church.
The top of a church.
An old style church. Sort of the 11th century, you know what I mean by old style church, ones without the big pointy steeples and a cock on the top and all the grandiose stuff. One of the ones with the little castle turret.
Yeah.
So once we'd spotted that, it was like, right, now I know where we're going.
Didn't make us walk any faster back to the car.
No, I had to take my time actually. My ankles were playing up.
Help the aged and all of that. I waited.
No, they're just injuries.
So then
being done. So yes, we got back to the car, drove down the road to what ended up being a whole load of random OAPs parking their cars.
Randomly.
Carrying cakes and stuff. So what the heck's going on here?
Yeah. And then they went, oh, do come in. We've got cream teas today. I was like, oh, okay then. Quick, park car, let's go.
I'll be parking up then. So we went.
We had a little meander through the graveyard first. It's graveyard because it's attached to a church, so it's not a cemetery, it's a graveyard. And there were quite a lot of old gravestones, and one of them, it was really bizarre. I've never experienced anything like it before. It was a little bit disconcerting, but it's if the gravestone, which you couldn't read at all, it was completely illegible and tipped over quite a bit, but it was like it was pulsing with energy. it was really strange, and I felt really drawn to it. But obviously there was the
Which
lovely
doesn't
ladies.
happen in graveyards.
No, it doesn't. Lovely lady popping her head out and going, "We've got tea."
Yeah.
Which was basically, get out of there and come and have tea.
So we were press ganged into the church.
Yeah, we were, but that was really weird. And as I walked away from it, the light's having a bit of a moment.
Okay.
That's a bit weird.
So I've looked at it now. I can't see now. Now all I can see is dots.
As I walked away from it, it started. That's the second time as I started saying that, that's flickered.
Okay. Stop
I
messing with my
felt
lights.
really dizzy. Like I didn't know what I was doing and where I was going. I felt really like I'd got off a waltzer.
Mm.
It only lasted a matter of seconds, but what a bizarre thing. Oh, Noah's been and Noah's gone.
Yeah, I believe in ghosts. Bye.
You did say you look like Aquaman.
Yeah. Kind of, from a distance. Right, the graves, I do have a little fact about the graves.
Okay.
The earliest recorded graves in that graveyard date from the 16th and the 17th centuries.
That's 15th and 16th. 1600s and 1700s.
Yeah. Date from the 16th and 1700s.
Okay.
Wasn't that what I said?
No, you said 16th and 17th century.
No. Almost the same thing.
Anywho.
Split in centuries.
There was clearly either gravestones not put in or that had crumbled and been taken away, which was quite sad.
The largest family buried in there are the Turville family. Graves of Thomas Turville, bachelor and gentleman who died in 1725. That's some of the interesting bits. We grabbed a pamphlet.
They did have, I can't remember what kind of tree she said it was now. They had a beautiful, massive tree, which I did spot, didn't I, as we were leaving?
Oh, yeah.
To go into the church.
Yep.
That had clearly fell over, but it was huge. Absolutely huge. And apparently it came down in the storms.
Etna.
I don't know. Was it this spring when we had super bad winds?
Yeah, I can't remember. They said
and the
one of the
tree
recent
just came
ones.
down. Nobody knew there was anything wrong with it. It seemed really sturdy, and then it wasn't. But that was right at the edge of the graveyard.
Cycle of life. Not all trees live forever.
But didn't fall into the graveyard. Fell out of the graveyard.
Being polite.
Yeah.
So yeah, the other thing with this church, once we got inside, is it's really old.
Like super old. It's probably the oldest church I've been in.
Yeah, and other than sort of ones that have been abandoned and derelict, for an actual working church, they've made very little alterations inside to modernise it. Now, whether that be a lack of money or a preservation side of things, because it is a grade 1 listed building. The organ is a grade 2 listed thing. What does it say it is? The organ is grade 2 listed. No, but that's what I was going to ask you, because you spoke to the person about the organ.
I did. That when some unscrupulous people came in and stole the lead off the roof, amongst other things, they also broke into the church and stole the gubbins out of the organ. So it can only be a grade 2 because the original workings that were in it, that probably would have made it a grade 1, are gone because somebody stole them.
Thieving buggers.
Yeah.
So you can clearly see within the church the older bits, and it started off as a timber construction building, and you can see where when they've gone from being a timber construction to brick build, they've used the same roof structure, beams, whatever you want to call them, and just put them on top of the bricks. And within the center pieces, there is Celtic knots carved in to the woodwork, which dates back, I found it in here, where is it, in my little list of things, dates back to part of the Saxon doorway, which dates back to the 1300s,
Now I can go back even
and was
further
rediscovered in the 1970s.
I can go back even further than that because having done some research, encouraged by the lovely Jammin Jerusalem ladies, who said, Google it, you'll probably find out more. So I did. Historically, All Saints is one of the oldest churches in the area, dating back to the 8th century, as the wooden structure. So it was originally a wooden church, and then stone added to it in the 11th and 12th centuries, and onwards they added bits to it. But from the 8th century, there was a religious building on that premises, and it was originally called a minster.
Right.
Which is a base for priests who travelled the surrounding areas, who then brought back converts from all the local villages and things to baptise them in the River Avon, which flows literally just down the road.
I've just seen a comment. I'm not sure why I missed it earlier. You said about how many steps you've done today. Chris has done 24,650.
Shut up.
He hasn't. He's tied it to the dog. Because if you haven't, that's what you should have done.
Well, I've done 7,959, more than I should have. Let's leave it at that.
I don't care how many I've done.
Let's leave it at that.
Considering
Considering quite a big part of the journey was in the car, I'm quite proud of what I've done today.
So yeah, so
yeah, that goes back quite far. So the 8th century, that's old.
Yeah, but at that point it would have been
like a Little House on the Prairie wooden one.
Yeah, but there would have been a Christian influence, but you're going to be smack bang in the middle of the moment in time when religion was just arriving.
Right, okay.
So Saxon man that just lived off the land, the heathen as they called them, didn't really have a religion as such. They had celebrations of seasonal stuff, which we can class as paganism now.
Yeah.
Those seasonal celebrations and praying to whoever it was for good crops or healthy families.
Well, we didn't burst into flames walking in the door, so that was a good sign, number one.
Yeah, she asked me about my necklace and I said it was a Norse pagan symbol, and she didn't say
and we said we were Wiccan warriors, and all she made me promise was that I wasn't going to sacrifice a chicken in there. And I said no, that I'm definitely not going to do that because it's a bugger to get those stains out, so I don't do that anymore. Yeah, maybe. Had an aura of Kentucky Fried Chicken about me. Not bad for a vegetarian. I'm just going to, if you want to talk a bit more about what you've got.
No, all I was going to say is, like I said, you can see the different bits of the church that date back to different periods. And one part of it, which was the oldest part, funnily enough, the second you step into it, the energy changes. And it feels really strict. It felt really masculine as an area, like an area you'd have gone to kind of get told off for something. And because we've looked into the history afterwards, I think that is where ministers that were staying over, because that's what it was for, wasn't it? It was give them lodgings and places to stay, either bringing back people to convert to Christianity, or they were just stopping there on their travels.
Mm-hmm.
And I reckon that's what it was, arguing and converting people and head vicars or whatever they were, sort of pastors at the time. Do you know what I mean?
Right, so.
And there'd have been a lot of violence in that time.
Of course there was.
As well.
So in Anglo-Saxon times, throughout the 7th century, they were trying to convert people. And then it proper kicked in the 8th century.
So I was right when I said
and
that.
It was Frankish.
Yep.
So it was the French that came over and built their monasteries and things and sent over their monks. So we're looking at, Christianity coming in.
Yeah.
hence why they built it then.
That's why I'm saying it would have been a wooden structure. They'd have been a certain amount of people not against religion, because I don't think early primitive crofting man that was just doing whatever he needed to do to survive really thought about the conflict of religious belief. Do you know what I mean? They didn't really think about how their belief would contradict somebody else's belief. It's just like, well, the sun's nice and hot and it helps my crops. I give thanks to that sort of.
And now we want a little bit of rain.
Yeah, and you want
we give thanks to the gods for that. And yes, they were pagan before.
Yeah, and okay, so you want to give credit to that, all to one guy. Well, okay, well, you do that.
Now, here's a little bit of interesting information. Did you mention the symbolism? Did you say that?
About the knot?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so Anglo-Saxon missionaries were instrumental in the spread of Christianity during the 8th century, continuing the work of the Hiberno-Scottish missionaries, which had been spreading Celtic Christianity, as well in the Frankish Empire, as well as Scotland and Anglo-Saxon England during the 6th century, hence the Celtic knot.
Yeah, and some of the fancy gargoyles as well are not particularly Christian. They're a lot more heathen, pagan looking. So you can see the influence of it, and I think that's amazing that those two things can coexist without there being
conflict.
Yeah, a massive conflict. It's just, I'm not going to get into a conversation to do with gods and religion side of things, but as a building and as a place to feel the different kinds of energy in there. And the lucky thing is, it's only recently that they've opened it up.
Yes.
So this was quite a lucky find that I think is going to spread now. So if you want to go and experience the kind of, if you can feel the energy of a building and walk through time, because I thought it was fucking amazing. I was buzzing my balls off.
It was amazing. There was a couple of weird moments in there.
Yeah.
Obviously the gravestone, whatever's going on in the ground there, it might be something to do with ley lines. That's something I need to research for the area.
It's definitely a place we're going to go back to.
There was a central point for sure where there was something going on, and it wasn't person, it was pure energy. It's very disconcerting.
So we were just in the process of getting a cup of tea. I'm going to sit down, just have a cup of tea, and there was a massive homemade Victoria sponge.
It was proper jam and Jerusalem homemade cake.
It would have been rude not to. So.
Well, I didn't, because the only gluten-free lady in the village had collected it all up and took it home with her 5 minutes before we got there.
So so we're getting the cup of tea, and I said how beautiful the church was, and the tower. I said, "Oh yeah, you can go up there if you like." I was like, "Really?" Yeah, we'll wait for.
Yeah, do you want to go up the tower? Like you're going to say no thanks?
Like, really?
Quite happy to sit here.
So we went and had a cup of tea, and then I went and spoke to the person involved, and they said, "Oh yeah, he's already up there. There's a guy up there, because you can only go up in so many, because the staircase to get up there, I promise you, is as wide as me."
It's shocking. It's
not. It's not a big space.
Really unnerving.
And it curves really tightly.
If you're claustrophobic, give it a miss.
If you're not, and you're adventurous, and you want to feel the energy of standing next to some massive old church bells in a medieval Saxon-built church tower, it's amazing. And the fact that
we haven't talked enough about how scary the stairs are.
I think we have. Let's not scare people.
No, they're not. It's not that now. The chap was saying to us before they started the restoration, there was no lighting at all up the stairs. So when you ascended the stairs, they're really narrow, so you kind of walk like this, and I still had dirt down my arms from brushing on the walls. You kind of walk like this, and the stairs go from that high to that high to that high to that high, and I couldn't get my whole foot on, so I don't know how you guys do it. They're really weird and narrow, but they were going up in jet black. Which doesn't even bear thinking about.
Yeah, there is some light in there now. Not a lot.
Not a lot. A little bit.
So yeah, so we got up to the level where the bells are. No, underneath the bells, the first sort of bit, and that's where you can see the trapdoor and some of the old stonework and stuff.
So you say the trapdoor.
And the
All my
ropes
brain could
kinda
go
going
is, why is
through.
that man walking across the trapdoor? If that goes, he's gone. He's
Yeah.
a goner. That's quite a way down.
Yeah, because that was 15th century woodwork.
And he kept walking across it.
Well, I
And
did
he
as
was
well.
going, oh, it's
Right.
just the trapdoor. Yeah, just don't go on it.
So I sort of thought, oh, okay, we've kind of come to a room. And he went, oh no, it goes further up. We'll go up and see the bells. Yeah, excellent, superb. It's as narrow and it gets a little bit tighter, and you have to watch your head because of the woodwork for the bell structure.
I am sweating now just at
And
the
you
thought.
weren't going to go up anymore. You sort of.
I chickened out about halfway.
Yeah, so
when
I went
I'm starting
up.
to get really claustrophobic now.
And where the bells were, I stood there and I could see Penny. I went, look, it is just to here, to this next level.
Yeah.
So yeah, we went up and had a look at the bells again. There's a picture on our Facebook page. But then there was a ladder. And I could see
Wait.
daylight.
Before we get to the ladder, the bells have inscriptions on them.
Oh yeah, they all had individual ones, didn't they?
I don't know if there's anything in there about it, but it's really cute.
Not the inscriptions, no, just that they were.
And when they did the restoration, they had to get the bells out, so down through the trapdoors.
Yeah.
Everybody climbing up and down them weird stairs in the dark.
Yeah.
Trying not to fall through the trapdoor that you've opened to let the bells down.
Yeah.
Creepy.
Takes
That's
some
all that went
practice.
through my mind, and I was terrified.
So yeah, so the bells. I was like, I said to him, "Can I dong it?" He went, "Yeah."
Yeah.
I
Obviously.
thought it would make quite a success, like a satisfying noise. No.
It just goes dunk.
Yeah, I was just dunk. Ah, shit! It's a bell. I really wanted to.
You need
dong.
well, you need the clanger to
Yeah,
do that.
I thought my hand would do, but no, apparently
It's
not.
not Thor's hammer. It is literally just your hand.
I should have used the hammer.
You should have used the hammer.
Yeah, so then I spot a ladder and daylight. And I went, oh, look, you can go even one more. And he went, yeah, if you like.
Up you go.
I was like, what the fuck? Now I'm at my level because I do get vertigo. My brain does this weird thing when I'm on heights where it wants to throw itself off.
Everybody's does.
And I don't get, my brain goes, oh, you'll fall, dickhead. So.
But to be fair, looking down through the ladder, there's nothing to hold on to.
Oh, no, there's no handrail.
Banister or
It's
handrail
just
on the stairs.
step ladder.
It's a rope that goes down the middle. So you're basically pulling yourself up going around these stairs. So when you get when you get to the bell level, that's it. The rope is cannily tied round the bottom of the ladder, the wooden ladder that goes up to the roof. And it's, would you like to climb up that ladder? It's, no, obviously not. You can see down.
My brain said two things. One, this is going to be scary as fuck, so watch your footing and make sure you don't fall. And also, you're going to get this opportunity again. Now's a moment to say yes to something. And you accept the fear of doing something, the anxiety of doing something amazing. So it was just focus on the daylight, go straight up the ladder and straight onto the. What I didn't tell you is when I got out, put my hand down, fuck, that roof was hot.
I bet it was.
Yeah, I didn't think of that.
Metal roof.
Yeah, metal roof, hands. Wow. But on that roof, there is the original lead inscription bit stuck to the replacement lead because they had to redo it. Some people nicked the original.
Mm.
But one of the people, medieval front corner, he scratched a footprint into the old lead in the roof, and it's believed that was in 1788. So I put my foot on the footprint of a guy who did a bit of early graffiti in 1788. That was just fucking amazing because it's on a roof. So I'm one of a handful of people that have been up on that bit. It's not going to be hundreds of people that have been on the roof there.
Right, I'm bigging this up as a really terrifying experience because for me it was, and the longer I waited for him up on the roof, the more terrified I got.
Oh yeah, you couldn't get near the edge either because if you look on the picture that's on Facebook, I did a panoramic. That brickwork is it's not even knee high.
Halfway up.
So as you walk to the edge of before even the guttering slope, you can see straight down. It's not. So I stayed nice and firmly on the ridge in the middle.
Right, so there's us being proper worrywarts, me being worse than you, obviously. But one of the old ladies went, "Oh yeah, it's quite high up there, and to start with, you're quite nervous. But yeah, I was up and down the stairs, and you just stay away from the edge and try not to fall off." Huh? Little old ladies shouldn't be doing things like that.
Yeah.
Hardy bunch, that lot.
So,
WI.
Yeah, I made the mistake coming back down though. I came down face first. In my brain,
Like walking downstairs.
Yeah, in my brain, the ladder was only 6 foot. So I thought I'll be fine because by the time I get to the last point where I can hold on to the ledge, my feet will be near the bottom of the ladder. Fucking weren't. I had another 4 rungs to do. So I was then between there, straight down on the wall. So yeah, so I put one hand out on the wall and came down.
I couldn't watch.
In the most ungraceful,
sweaty palms now. Just the thought of it, I couldn't even watch him coming back down the ladder.
But from there, I could see the 2. What do they call them? Moats. Mots, they called them, which were the 2 earth mounds where you could see where the original settlement, and there was a pond there and loads of stuff there. So if you fancy spending an afternoon out, it's a nice little village to walk around, have a look around. The church is gorgeous, and it's called Lilbourne. Does I pronounce it right?
Yes.
So Lilbourne in Northamptonshire. It's sort of borders Northampton and Rugby. It's that kind of spots.
Right, because
the actual village itself dates back to the Iron Age and the Bronze Age. And the reason it became quite a popular place and the reason the settlement moved is because of a change in strategic planning for the crossroads that run through from London, Oxford, Crick, Leicester, Newcastle, Coventry, Rugby, West Haddon and Hunsbury. And they all linked the market roads through that bit.
Yeah, because the first place we went to was called a siege castle. So I asked the lovely local man.
We need to wrap this up in a minute. Talk about healing.
Yes. What was the siege? Was there a battle? What made them go up the hill? And he went, "Oh, to be honest, it was probably just the river because it fills up and comes quite high up. So it was more about, my shoes are getting a bit wet.
Getting wet feet.
So let's move up the hill and create a new settlement." So I'm not sure what the siege thing was about because I haven't actually found any battle that was within that area. And you certainly don't get the feeling that there was any kind of major conflict that occurred.
No, the only animosity I felt was inside that old bit of church. That was the only bit where I really am desperate to go back. And
it was really weird. The oldest part of the church, which we didn't know was the oldest part of the church, because it all looks really old, was I walked there on my own while you was off ordering tea.
Cake.
Obviously. And as I walked there, it was the first thing I got, and it was really weird, was a really overwhelming smell of, for want of a better way of putting it, male musk and BO. And it was really strong, like, whoa, that's really powerful, like a gang of teenage boys had walked past. It was really overpoweringly strong, and I saw that it was lilies at the other end, and I thought, even they're not.
It's the smell of medieval man, that was.
It was a bit like the smell of medieval monk. You can imagine it under all of that Hessian cloth in the heat.
Wouldn't have been so hot then in this country. We were a cold country then.
Well, either
we're
way,
a hot country now.
I'm not. They didn't have deodorant.
No.
And I imagine that they didn't wash their, I don't know, cassocks, whatever they're called, very often. But whatever it was really overpoweringly strong. And the energy just didn't feel nice at all. And then I wandered off to the table and went, just go over there and see if you pick anything up. And you kind of raised your eyebrows. When we later went over there, I felt a hand on the back of my head go like that, down the back of my head. And it was like, oh, okay, so you've got a feisty male energy in there.
So you potentially got touched by something. You could have told Mickey that story for his latest video.
We were supposed to do that. and
Yeah.
we forgot.
So anyway, right. So that was our adventure today.
Yes.
Our trip to Lilbourne Village.
All Saints Church.
Yep. In Northamptonshire. Amazing place.
We did say we were going to give a shout out on here tonight, so to expect an influx of visitors.
Yeah. And say it was the Wiccan Warriors that sent you.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, a lovely place.
It was lovely, and they were really lovely, welcoming people too.
Yeah. It's good. Right then. Healing now. All the lights changed and went white. Okay, so healing.
Yes.
3 parts: mental, physical, spirit vibration.
Okay.
Because this is just how I see it, and then you can agree or disagree. Anything to do with us has a physical side of things. So for me, since last September and my weird seizure thing and my collapse, I've been recovering from back pain. Once it eased off enough, I've booked and been having chiropractic treatment for him to work the physical aspect of putting my back where it needs to be and my neck. And to back his physical stuff up, when I come home from doing that, or the evening of having the Reiki the chiropractic treatment, I then do Reiki on myself. So I lay there and it's my way of doing it, but I walk like I'm doing a little inspection of all my joints in my body with a little notepad and pen. Because of how my brain works, I have to keep imagery there, because if I don't, I will then lose that thought and be tailed off by something else. So in my head, I'm going through and my body, and I'm just checking off, right, okay, so my body now remembers where that joint sits. Tick that one off. Now we go to the next one, tick that one off. And I do this really weird walkthrough down my spine as a tick sheet for my body to remember where it should be sat. And the whole time I'm doing it, the person who I'm imagining, this tiny little person walking through my body, is in a white coat and just glows white. So everything he's touched has now got a white kind of phased film over it.
So did you remember your business card? Who is your chiropractor?
His name's Nav, and it's Burton Latimer Chiropractic. So yeah, they're really good, and it's not cheap. It's 40 quid a session.
And they're not massively long sessions.
No, it's about 10 minutes. The first one was longer because I had to explain to him what's happened, because I've had a back injury in the past as well.
Yeah.
So we needed to make sure everything was covered, and then it was a case of, right, okay, oh, you're right. And my spine was not a curvature of the spine, but it was out, and everything was haunched over where everything had tightened after the injury. So now, at that point, I was then there once a week. Now I'm there once a fortnight. And once that starts to ease off, it'll be once every 3 weeks and every 4 weeks. So to back up his physical manipulations of what he's doing, I back that up with my own spiritual healing, my Reiki, to add to it. Do you get my logic? So yeah, so that's how I think we sort of deal with the physical and the mental. But what do you think?
I had a very long period of time, about 6 years, where I was broken, definitely physically, certainly.
Glad you find it interesting.
Mental, exhaustion, and lent heavily on physical remedy, which is really annoying, because during that time I did an advanced master herbalist course, but didn't really use.
So describe that term to anybody who's not familiar with it, though. What do you mean by that?
What being an advanced master herbalist is about.
No, the bit before that. You relied on.
What did I say?
Medication or something.
Yeah. Physical medication. So a lot of pain relief, things that stimulated physical aspects. So
Okay.
they were neurological medications.
Don't go into what it was.
No.
It was just to draw that difference between, it wasn't herbal remedies, it was
chemical.
Yeah. Which you could argue come from herbal, but
not necessarily, because some of them were synthetic, and if you look at the compounds that are used, they're really inappropriate, quite a lot of them, of which I'm on none now.
Okay, so that does back up what I said then? So some of that was the physical, some of it was the mental.
I think quite a lot of physical well-being is directly related to your mental well-being.
When we met, we were both on medication.
Mm-hmm.
The only medication I'm on now is asthma. That's the only one that fucking beats me. I've never been able to get my asthma to go away. Now, maybe if I'd have meditated harder and not smoked as much,
I think
that might have
not
helped.
smoking will have a massive amount towards that.
But my asthma's not bad, but I've never managed to get rid of it.
No, it's because you're an addictive personality and you're seeking an addiction. I'm not on any of those medications.
I like ENS, that's what it is. Caffeine, nicotine, Vaseline.
That was bizarre. But brilliant book. Absolutely goes along with what you were saying. Oops. How Your Mind Can Heal Your Body. Dr. David Hamilton. He was a cutting edge scientist that dealt with pharmacology and drugs and looked significantly into the subject I think you want to lead on to around medications.
Yeah.
But his books are amazing, and I went and spoke to him and listened to him speak, and he absolutely made sense about how much your brain can create a physical problem or repair a physical problem to a point. Obviously, you can't regrow a limb because you're thinking about it.
Can't you, though?
No, because we're not lizards. We're not genetically made up to do that. Not all our cells regenerate in that way.
In the brain, that
is there a
limb would still be
possibility
there.
somewhere in the
In the brain,
future,
the limb is
possibly?
still there. Physically, the limb might not be there, but
Okay.
mentally, the limb could still be there.
And there's a lot to be said for if somebody says to you, you're sick, you've got something wrong with you, that you immediately will spiral down into worst case scenario, your health will decline along with your mental state.
I've always said I've never got a cold or the flu until the day I say I think I've got a cold.
And then all of a sudden,
you go, yeah, I have got a cold. And it's like when you go, I accept it. Yeah, there we go, now I've got it.
So do I think you can think yourself well? Yes. I think quite a lot can be done with the power of the mind. And it's like when we were talking about the doula stuff, you tell your brain what you want it to do. If you say pain, then that's what you experience. If you say sensation, it's sensation.
The thing with the mind, and we will lead on to that we'll come back to the medication bit in a second.
Yeah.
The thing with the mind is it can be a little bit like a potted plant. Now, that potted plant will flourish if it's in the right environment. So it's not just a case of somebody feeling strong, safe, secure within their own mind. The mind has to exist within an environment for sort of meditation or healing or that relaxed feeling that you need for that. So you've got to consider the environment that you're sitting in or exposing your potted plant to. Weird metaphor, but I hope you get what I mean. Does that make sense what I'm sort of saying? It's not just a case of being able to, you couldn't sit in a busy train station and try and do Reiki meditation. There's too much hustle and bustle. There's too many other mixtures of energies going around. So you need to think about the environment that you're in when you think about certain things.
Okay.
But anyway, yeah, so medication side of things. Scientists have proved the placebo effect. They proved it. Scientists proved it. No Reiki healers.
And that's exactly what he looked into, the placebo effect, and went, hang on a minute, it's not drugs that are making these people get better. They think that they're taking the medication and they're getting better. How is that working then?
So there's two questions with that. Is one, does the brain think it's getting the medication so it creates synthetically the right chemical to fix the problem, or does the brain think that it's getting fixed so it just fixes the problem? Do you see the?
Let's be
the
clear.
two parts
We don't
there?
know the answer.
No, I'm not. I'm not an expert in this
Posing
at all.
the question of how healing can help, and as we are both master teacher
Reiki.
in Reiki.
Dr. Asuri, is that the word you're looking for?
No, it isn't. We consider universal life force energy, that the energy is out there in the universe, that we are all connected to, that we all come from, and that we can harness that energy, or in the case of a Reiki practitioner, can become a conduit for that energy to make somebody well. And there are a number of times, for example, my daughter really hurt her back, short version of the story, significantly hurt her back, and was lying face down on the bed. She didn't know what I was doing. All she knew was she was in unimaginable pain. And I started putting my hands over her, not on her, not touching her, and it was quite a full room. There was a few of us in the room at the time, and all of a sudden she became very still and went, "Are you giving me Reiki? I can feel it." And it was, of course I'm giving you Reiki. Why wouldn't I? If it's something that I do and you are in physical distress, why wouldn't I use what I have available to me? So I did. And it helped. It eased it.
But that's the question. We know the placebo effect works. We know that the brain can be tricked into thinking it's being made better by external stimulation, when in fact it's actually done it itself. So if that is the case, and that's proven, how do we harness that even more? Now, I read, and this wasn't to do with healing or any of my Reiki stuff that I've now done, this was to do with social psychology. And in a Robert Anton Wilson book, he goes into detail about the thinker thinks, the prover proves. You think about it for long enough, and then you move into, you kind of think about it, you make it happen. Now you bring that into a pagan perspective, you think about it hard enough and you manifest it, it's a similar principle. So my question is always going to be the same thing, is I don't know whether or not the placebo effect is the power of suggestion, and there's no, I don't know what the missing link bit is. Okay. Because the brain our brains must create either a chemical change or a frequency change. Bear in mind as well, in science, we know that every organ in the body vibrates at a slightly different frequency to the one next to it. So every organ in our body has its own frequency.
Yes.
And that, I mean, that's how NASA check their astronauts, by checking the frequency of their liver and the kidneys and stuff. So we know that we can read those vibrations to pick up if something's healthy or unhealthy without physically seeing it. We can see that in the vibrational frequency of something already. Now NASA's got that. So if they can do that, why can't everybody else? And is that what the brain is doing? Is it changing the frequency when, let's say, for instance, you go to the doctor, you've got a liver problem. So they say to you, "Oh, here's the tablets, this will cure your liver problem." Mm-hmm. But they give you Smarties. Your brain then thinks it's getting a cure for its liver problem. Does it just fix the liver, or is it now forced to produce the chemical that the liver needs to repair itself, or does it force the frequency change to repair the organ? Do you guys, does anybody get what I'm getting at here? And if anybody can answer that, it'd be amazing.
I think
I'm just gonna have a drink for a minute.
I think you should.
Is anybody still there, or have you gone? Hello, I'm going to check the loves in a minute.
I think that when we are tired, when we are worn, when we are stressed, that we open ourselves up to toxicity. And the toxicity comes from our environment because we are slowly poisoning it, and from other people's energies. We're absorbing those as well, and that isn't great. So we take that on, and each step that we absorb something negative in takes us lower into ourselves and reduces our ability to assist our body to recover and heal. Then we get to the point where we don't know what to do anymore because our brains are so focused on all the horrible stuff. I feel awful, I feel tired, I never seem to feel well. We eat the wrong foods because we just want to comfort ourselves and not put any effort in. If it's around stress, you do things around addictions which aren't good for you, whether that's smoking or drinking or substances, something to, in an effort to lift yourselves. None of those things lift anything about yourself. And then we get desperate and we go to our GP and we say we've done everything that we can, when actually we haven't done anything. And they give us a chemical compound and say that will make you better. And sometimes it does, and sometimes it really doesn't. Sometimes it just exacerbates the problem, and so they try a different chemical compound to try and lift you. And then at some point, either you change your mindset or become distracted and suddenly you're not unwell anymore, but you haven't noticed it happening, or worst case scenario, something goes significantly wrong.
Yeah, I'm not saying at all
So
that
that's the first thing that I think. I think our bodies have forgotten how to heal, and we have been so trained to believe that somebody else is responsible for making us well, that's what we do now. We automatically blame something else, reach out to somebody else to fix it, when we have the power to fix ourselves.
we do. I mean, let's not be silly about this.
I'm not being, in no way being glib.
I'm not sort of saying at all that if you go in and the doctors do a scan and say, well, you've got a heart thing, I'm not sort of saying that you can meditate and change that.
However,
but what I am saying is that actually possible? If we've proved with the placebo effect, how strong is that placebo effect?
Which is what I was going to say. In these books, I think this is one in particular, yes.
I'll tell you.
He has a really good guidance in these about changing your mindset and refocusing. And it's about exactly what you said about visualizing your spine and the way it's supposed to be and how the muscles connect to it, and visualizing all of that. And in here, it does all of that. This is in no way it's something I'm advertising as this is something you have to do, and I just found that really inspirational, and it changed my mindset. But it is about visualizing whichever part of your body is under attack, and it is under attack. It's under attack from external forces, or infections, or bacterias, or viruses, all external things. And it's about visualizing the part of your body that is affected and how you imagine it getting better. Like you said, the little man in the white coat with glowing in energy, like in there it says if you know that you've got, I don't know, calcified section of your heart, imagine that you're in there tiny with a gun blasting away with a little laser gun, and tell your brain is going, I need to fight this, and changing your mindset. So you're absolutely right there, visualizing the tell your brain what you want it to do, the placebo part of it.
You have to kind of, to let you a little bit deeper into my psyche a little bit, because I have spoken about it on here, is I regard this as just a gooey vessel that I'm occupying this time.
Yum.
So when I split things earlier into the mental side of things, so your mind, the power of your mind, the mentality of who you are,
Mhm.
your strength of mind, your clarity of mind, your ability to bat off negativity, take criticism when needed, and never consider yourself to be the smartest person in the room. Kind of just generally be a good human being. Then there's the physical side of it. And a lot of the time we can't listen to our bodies. I get a banging migraine and I can't have the day off because my body's saying, dude, you need to relax and chill out. But I can't because I've got a contractual commitment to a company and a moral commitment to a person I'm working with to help. So we can't always put our own health forward
No,
and say, well, I can't do today, I've got a headache.
But we can plan ahead, and if we need to use other people to help us, practically, let's do that. So, in your case, a chiropractor helps you to physically realign what's out of alignment in your spine. If somebody comes to us or books us for Reiki, we're doing the same thing as he is doing potentially without the physical intervention part of it.
Yeah, my little white coat,
Mhm.
when I'm doing a Reiki session, when I'm doing it on myself, I know that the chiropractor's put everything where it's supposed to be. So he's going through on a checklist, remembering the location of where everything's been put. When I'm doing it as a Reiki session with somebody, he's having a walk through, he's looking. We're looking for heat spots, swelling, things that are out of alignment. Now, he doesn't have the physicality and the strength to move any of these things around, but what he can do is manipulate the muscles, so the muscles allow things to move back into place. So that's the little cartoony walkthrough. I go through it in my head.
And if you are going to use an external professional, engage with it. Otherwise, what's the point of doing it?
Yeah.
Don't throw money at it and go, well, this isn't going to work. Why are you even there then? You want it to work. Believe that it will work. And then if it does, brilliant. Don't question that. Go along with that.
And then the third part was spirit vibration, the soul. But from the point of fact that we know the frequency of Reiki, we know that all of our organs vibrate at a particular frequency. Well, everything on the planet has its own frequency. And we know this. This is proven stuff. This is not just hippie stuff. We know that. So that's proven. So having all three of those things in alignment, you're setting yourself up to try not imagine every illness as an external attacker, and you're keeping that kind of positive white glow and aura that you need to bat away some of the negative energy. But it's not always easy, and that if we're as susceptible as we are to suggestion for a placebo, we are as equally susceptible for the negativity within social media to blow our minds the opposite direction. So when I said earlier about imagine your mind is that potted plant in a room, what you're exposing that potted plant to will affect everything inside your head. I love this topic. This is one of my favourite topics.
Anybody, I will always say educate yourself. Don't just believe what one person says to you. Don't just travel down one train of thought. Look at all the different options that are out there. When I first started out in healing, I didn't know. I'd been doing it for years for people before it was given a name. So people like me are called magnetic healers or cosmic healers, and it's just something that we used to do, and it used to be more spiritual healers. And then it started diversifying into different names. But I read up on Harry Edwards and the Healing Sanctuary and what he was doing after I realised what I was actually doing. People coming to me and going, I've got a really bad migraine, can you do something? And me sitting and manipulating the energy around their head until it went. I didn't know what that was. There's which way? That way. Reiki. There's the power of thought.
Well, I wrote down a few. Because another one that I use is crystals.
Yeah.
Anytime if I'm going somewhere particularly. Oh, I didn't today, actually. Funnily enough, normally I'll find a piece of quartz,
Mhm.
and I'll carry a piece of clear quartz with me if I'm going somewhere new, because it's like a nice transmitter for me to pick up on things, and it draws energy in. Or rose quartz, or I'll have a pendulum. Failing that, I've been to my altar sometimes and just picked a random.
Citrune's quite good for protection.
So
Although I'm not a big crystally person.
I'm not in the sense of knowing what they're all called, but I know which ones I'm drawn to for whatever particular task I need to do. Meditation is a good form of healing, quiet time. But as I've said before on here, my meditations are not generally, it's not a sit and an om. I need to digest stuff. I need to get through stuff. My ADHD brain needs to process some stuff. So meditation for me is that. And it's being able to put things in boxes. You go, right, I've sorted that, done. Whatever it is. So if it's moving forward from something.
It doesn't have to be silent. You can have a sound bath.
Yep. Acupuncture is one that I'd really love to have a go at acupuncture. Because I firmly believe there is all the little pressure points.
Of course there is.
In the body. So I'd love to know the manipulation of those. It's pretty cool.
With that, then acupressure.
Yeah, acupressure, then massage, sports massage,
reflexology,
or even reflexology. What do we call it? I meant as like sports massage as opposed to relaxation massage. What do they call it? Thai.
No, there's loads of different kinds.
Swedish.
Ayurvedic massage.
Counselling. I wrote that down as well because that's a valid thing to do. Counselling, life coaching. If it's a motivation you need for work or your health or your weight, there's always a coach or somebody out there with the knowledge. But we forget sometimes the onus is on us to seek it out.
And then to action it.
Yeah, and it's owning that piece of knowledge and using it for the betterment of your own health. A doctor, I put down as well. Doctors are there, but a doctor in the sense that we would like isn't how it's delivered in this world now. You don't go to a doctor for them to sort of tell you what's wrong. You go to a doctor now for them to give you something to alleviate the symptoms of what's wrong. And if it's more than that, if it's more than that can be fit into that 12 or 15-minute consultation, you're taking up too much of their time after it took 3 hours to get through on the phone to book the appointment in the first place. They're rushing you in and out. And then it gets referred to a hospital who then it goes through the admin process. I mean, just in perspective of my collapse last September, it's taken nearly a year of the NHS. And I get what's going on, but I do sympathise and I don't with the health service. And that's part of why I have my own strength in my own mind, is because I don't rely on a backup. The NHS is there if I absolutely bloody need them to be. Of course they are. An ambulance has always turned up if I bust my leg, or when I collapsed, they were there in minutes.
No, that's not true.
What?
An ambulance may have turned up for you, but it didn't turn up for our boy, and he had a collapsed lung.
Yeah, that is true.
And I waited 11 hours for an ambulance for my daughter.
Yeah, it's just me. So in the moment, I sort of don't waste doctors' time, but in the same sense as when I've had conversations with doctors and they say, well, we'll prescribe you this. Okay, well, what's that for? Well, it will alleviate. Oh God, we
treat symptoms, we don't cure the disease. We don't discover what the disease is and we don't cure the disease. We treat symptoms. That's, without going off on a tangent, that's where the money is. That's where the money will always be. And that's why there will never be cures for things. So we need to steer our own ship and look at what can we do to help ourselves. What other avenues are there that we can use, and whether people think they work or not, whether they're scientifically proved or not. If you believe that is making you feel better and it is getting you out of bed in the morning and putting a smile on your face and getting you through the day, do it. You
can draw that power from wherever you want. You can pick whichever god you want to draw it from. It's just about changing that mindset in your head. Now, like I said, there's an element to this where changing your mindset isn't going to repair a broken arm.
No.
Do you know what I mean? You've got to remember the physicality. Once there's a physical injury, you need physically repairing. But
And there are professionals for that, but it's everything that goes along with that, because that's what we suffer from. Something that can be physically fixed can be done quite quickly.
the question I would ask everybody is, for the environment that you currently live in, are you the most evolved that you could be in that environment? Or is everything around you doing things for you so you don't need to evolve to do it yourself? And that's where you said earlier about, we put the onus on, I feel ill, right, I need to go to the doctor. I've got to ask somebody else. I've got to go to somebody else for them to tell me what's wrong. And that works from the sort of mental health point of view to an extent. And if there's a physical injury, you broke your ankle, bust your arm, you need to go to somebody to fix that. But there's a lot to be said for just sitting in your own head and thinking about what it is that's making the pain there.
What it is you need to make you feel better.
Yep.
Food for thought.
The potted plant, if it's not thriving in that environment, move it.
Indeed.
We've gone over.
We have
We've gone over by
gone
7.5
over.
minutes. Sorry, guys, keeping you all up tonight.
What I want to say is, please look after yourselves this week. Certainly the next couple of days, we have got a serious red alert warning for the heat, getting up to and exceeding 40 degrees. Not something that we are used to in a general day-to-day setting. So please look after yourselves, because we want you back next week listening to us.
Yeah. It's going to feel like Dante's Inferno tomorrow.
Feels a bit like that now, if I'm honest.
So anyway, I hope you've enjoyed the show. Started off a little bit different, talking about Lilbourne Church and our adventure today with the lost village in Northamptonshire, and then moved on to the kind of real spiritual aspects of healing, which is kind of our forte. And if anybody out there wants to talk about stuff, then that's fine. I'm happily, if anybody wants to DM me, I'll explain to you how I figured out to come off some fairly strong antidepressants and painkillers.
And as long as it's not harmful or criminal or dangerous, do something that makes you smile.
Climb on a chimney roof with authorization.
No,
Yeah.
Doesn't make me smile.
Climb through a creepy hatch. That was scary. That was good fun. So anyway, yeah, stay well, stay shaded. Hang on, I need to get the thing in the right. I do that every time.
What?
We've got to do these cuts better.
Yeah.
By we, I mean me.
Yeah. Say goodnight, Alistair.
Good night, Alistair.